Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. Welcome to our KaiNexus Training Team Office Hours webinar, aka the Banna Rippey Show, episode 24.
We're getting really old.
My name is Ryan Rippey, and I'm the product manager here at KaiNexus, and I'm joined by my partners in crime today, account director Matt Banna, and training and enablement manager Adam Darnell. Banna, did you get a new title?
I did. Didn't you get a new title last week?
Congratulations. We're moving up in the world.
We are moving up in the world. We should get new titles every week.
That might get confusing for people. Would you like to introduce this guy sitting behind us here?
Oh, yeah. Adam Darnell, if you remember from last session, training enablement manager Adam Darnell is joining us today to help us with some new features.
Adam, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having me once again. Say something funny.
No. You're not supposed to just read straight off the script. You gotta.
My bad.
You're supposed to prep beforehand and come up with that.
We're supposed to write something in there.
Oh, God dang it, Darnell.
This is like first time, so we'll get him up to speed.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there. This is, you heard episode 24. We've been doing this for a while. We're kind experts in webinar experts.
Web experts.
Anyway, for those of you new to our webinar series, welcome aboard. The way this works is we all plan to nerd out here for the next half hour or so on a KaiNexus topic that we will share with you all in just a bit. The purpose of these webinars is for us to review the hottest topics and latest and greatest features suggested by our customers. So before I go ahead and reveal our topic for today, just going to go over some initial housekeeping items. Oh, Banna, that never gets old. So the webinar is being recorded. We'll go ahead and send out the slides and recording to everyone after the webinar. Also, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to type those into the chat box. Banna and I were pretty proactive in reaching out to some people who had requested their questions be answered prior to the webinar, so we did our best to answer everybody. But if any other questions come up, definitely go ahead and type those in the chat box. We will do our best to answer those in real time, as well as at the very end of the webinar if we have some time left over. All right, so let's take a look at our webinar topic for today.
Sorry, I already gave the drum roll.
Our 2.4.1 release. So a few weeks ago, we unveiled the 2.4.1 release, and so for today's webinar, we figured we'd take a deeper dive into some of the top new features that were included in that release. So let's see what we have on the agenda for today. We are going to start off, we're going to throw Adam right into the fire here, have him talk a little bit about some new search enhancements.
Did you even have to change this slide from last time?
Start
with search enhancements?
Yeah, there are a couple new things in here. You'll see. After that, I'm going to jump into some new board enhancements. Also going to spend a little bit of time in the lists area and talk about some lists and filters enhancements. Banna is going to jump in and go over some new special template configuration options for no status and non-reportable. Excited to hear about those.
Brand new.
I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit about our new remind feature. I just wrote a blog post on this as well, so I'm pretty well versed in the topic of remind. We'll go over the difference between that and our review feature.
You can write,
which was introduced last release.
We have an author here, everybody.
Stop! You're making me blush. So from there, Banna's gonna do a overview of some new dependency features. We're gonna bring Adam back in to talk about the people quick filters, and then we are going to conclude with some new impact type options available for our advanced ROI customers of lead time, cycle time, and tack time. So Banna will do a deep dive into those. Does that sound good, guys? Ready to rock and roll?
Sounds great.
Does that sound good, everyone else? I can't hear what you guys are saying. I imagine everybody is sitting there with a nice cup of Joe or hot cocoa. Hopefully you're keeping warm. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's get out of this slide deck here. We're going to jump into KaiNexus. Adam, talk to us about how we've made search better in KaiNexus.
I would love to. So with 2.4.1, we have added our beloved advanced filter to our search window.
Ooh.
So just pulling up any casual search here. We can now choose the advanced filter from our search window. It comes with some stock options here. Of course, we can always add more rules or delete rules as needed. And past that, I do have a few pro tips.
Pro tip.
That's right,
Pro tip.
multiple pro tips plural today. We can select underneath only. We have also added an all button. So once you're done kind of drilling down into the data that you want to see, you can always select all to bring everything back into the frame.
That's a big pro tip.
It is a big pro tip. And my
Super
second
powerful.
pro tip is you can now easily clear your most recent search history. So simply by going back to the main KaiNexus page, you can click on search history and you'll have this handy option here to clear search history.
Pro tip.
Pro tip.
There's my pro tips.
Fantastic,
Thanks,
Adam.
Adam.
Of course.
You did a pretty good job.
Pretty good job. Not bad. Not bad. I could see you shaking. You're just,
Shaking like a leaf,
You're
but,
sweating
you know.
over here, but that was good, man. Glad to have you part of the team. So let's dive into some board features.
They're
Now-
not boarding, are they?
They are not boarding, Banna. We did another pass on the manage boards area. So to access this, if you come up to the name of the current board you're on and click on the little picker drop down here, you'll see the manage boards option. So if we go ahead and jump in here, you're now going to have the ability to edit, copy, choose to make a board your default board, as well as delete if you go ahead and click on the ellipsis that shows up as you're hovering over a board. So the options that are available here is based on your permissions in the system. As a global board admin, you'll be able to make these changes here. Everybody's going to have these same type of options if you go in and take a look at your private boards. We don't have any private boards currently here in our environment, but you'll be able to do that there. The other thing that I want to point out is a pro tip.
Pro tip.
You can also drag and drop boards that you have permission to edit in order to adjust your board nesting structure directly from here. So for example, if I wanted to grab this operations nested board and say, hey, I'd love for this to now roll up to my projects, I can go ahead and grab this and drop it in here. Might not work. I don't know what my permissions are, Banna, but it looks like it's about to work. So you have the drag and drop functionality available here in the manage boards as well. Next thing that I want to talk about boards wise is you can now set the card header and background colors for your cards on a board. So what that means is in the past, what you would need to do is go into each card individually. And so as we come down here into the ellipsis of the card, there's this option to go in under layout and edit those headers. So here is where you can choose the text color and background color at a card level.
And gradient.
And gradients. Don't forget about gradients. Thank you, Banna. Very important part. So what we've done now is we said, hey, let's go ahead and allow you to do that for all of your cards in one place. And so now, as a administrator of this board, when I click on the ellipsis, I can click on default card headers. And here, very similar to what we saw in that card window, I can set the text color, header color, use the gradients as Banna mentioned, as well as set up secondary headers with those colors as well. And this will apply to all of my cards that are on this board. So this is a little shout out to Noah. This was something that I know he was excited about. He's a big card headers guy. You can do your card headers at a board level, a card level. You can do it at an org level as well. So just one more place to just add that branding touch on your boards, if you will. So that was boards. Was that boarding to you, Banna, or was that useful?
Fascinating.
All right, awesome. I hope you learned something. So we're going to switch gears. We're going to jump out of our boards area, and we're actually going to head over to lists.
Rippey, you teach me new things every day.
That's what I'm here for, man. Well, Adam's here for that too, actually.
Right.
Now we got Adam.
It's training, yeah.
So first thing that I want to talk about is in our, I believe it was our 2.4.0 release where we introduced the quick filters here in the list section. One of the things that we've added now for my role on team is you can actually choose any or none. So rather than going in and choosing, author, responsible, just eliminating some click friction here by choosing all of these, you can say, hey, if I'm any role on the team of an item, or if I'm not a team member on item, I can go ahead and choose the none option there as well. So just a quick thing I want to point out here in the My Role On team for the list quick filters. I think the biggest thing, Banna, is the bulk change options.
What about Adam?
Available.
He's here.
I'm here
Adam,
too. It's fine.
Why are you hiding under the desk? Can you come up here and help us?
he's scared.
So let's switch this over into list view. And we're going to click on the ellipsis and we're going to engage bulk change. So now that we have that up, if we go in and choose a couple of items, when we click on the bulk change drop down, you're going to notice a whole bunch of new options to help you out here. First one is bulk change locations. So you can go in and change the locations on your items. This includes your project task locations as well as originating and responsible for your improvements. You can bulk change parent. So if you want to quickly roll up some items into another item in the system, you can change the parent of those items.
I have already used that feature. It's very helpful.
Good to know, Banna. Perfect. We also have the change private. So if you want to go ahead and grab a couple of improvements and quickly make those private in the system. And then the last thing here is we have the bulk archive. So archive was another recently introduced feature a couple releases ago. So now you can come in and bulk archive a number of options here as well. Again, this is all going to be based on your permissions on those items. So if you do have a list of items and select a few that you do not have permission to make those changes, whatever you go in and select will not carry through. But for those items that you do, this is a great way to eliminate click friction and do a whole bunch of changes in one fell swoop just from the bulk change menu. We didn't stop there though. We've also enhanced the bulk change team role options. So for example, if we want to use, let's do collaborator as an example. If we choose the change collaborator option, there's going to be some more options available here in the select the type of change. So the first one we see here is add to existing. So this would add any user selected to the item as that team role on the item, pretty self-explanatory. The next one we have is remove from existing. So this would remove the users selected who are that team role on the item from the team role on that item. So far, so good. Then we get into replace all existing and clear existing. So replace all existing, this would remove the current users that are in that team role on the item and then replace them with the users that you select here. And last but not least is going to be our clear existing. So here you would be able to remove all of the users that are currently in that team role on the item from that role. So again, you got to keep in mind, which role am I working with? Here, for example, we're doing a bulk change team member. This was for collaborators. So collaborators is not a required team role on an improvement or a task, for example. So you could use all of these here. If you were to try to go in and remove like an author from an improvement, obviously you always need to have that author, so that wouldn't work. So just keep in mind what kind of change you're trying to make from this screen. We got a question as we were going through. Is it okay to take screenshots of the slides as well as the product? Feel free to if you'd like on your computer. Absolutely. We will send out the slides for the PowerPoint that we went through as well as the recording again as well. So you'll have that available. All right, let's keep talking about what we've done with lists and filters. So the next thing I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to switch us over to a tree view. And what I want to point out is you'll now be able to see the average and total for your number fields as well as any of your financial fields here. So here we have a number field for budget on a couple of projects in the system. And so it's actually now calculating the total and average. This has always been available in list view. So now you'll also be able to see that in tree view as well. All right, the next thing I'm super excited about because it's extremely powerful. We've enhanced the updating of the custom list process. So what does that mean? If you'd like to create a custom list in KaiNexus, when you're here in the list area, if you click on the little drop down here, you have the ability to create a list, and then any of those custom lists that you create for yourself will show up underneath this My List header. So I'm going to use one of the lists that we already have in here, Banna. Any particular that'll have a couple items in here?
I have no idea what's in any of those.
All right, let's just jump into like this metrics one. Of course, that was it. Well, do we have a, let's go, here we go, perfect. So we got a couple of items in here, that's fine. What I want to point out is if we go in and, for example, change the filter of this list. Let's say we want to add in an additional criteria. Maybe I just want to see things that I am a current team member on, for example. So if I go ahead and add that filter in, what you'll—
all of them.
so far so good. So what you'll notice is to the right of where it says metrics here, you see that we've edited the filter of one of our saved custom lists. So right now that is a temporary change. If we want to go ahead and include that new filter criteria, click on where it says edited in the dropdown, and you can either save the filter to this list, or if you want to create a new list with this filter, you'll have the save as option. You'll be able to go in and title that.
That's super powerful.
So this is super powerful. It's much more user friendly to be able to recognize when you're working with a saved list or one that you've just added some initial filters on but haven't quite saved yet. So that's the first thing that I want to point out that's different. The next thing that's really nice about what we did with lists is any of your column options that you use on a list tree or Gantt view, those are going to be specific to that list. And so on top of that, any view type you're using is going to be specific to that list. So for example, right now, Banna, in this metrics, we are in a tree view. If we switch this to list view, and then we'll go ahead and save that. And if we also wanted to go in and edit some of the columns, could click on the ellipsis, go in and change our columns up. So right now we have an extra budget that we don't need. We can get rid of that. Maybe we want to get rid of our ID. Get all this set up and go ahead and save that. This is going to be specific to this list, right? So if I go now switch over from metrics to a different list in the system, maybe I want to go take a look at at-risk projects. We're going to be able to save the at-risk projects if we want as a different type. So we can have different columns in there. We can go in and change this to a tree view and then save that. So based on your view and your filters and columns and all that stuff, it's going to be unique to that list. What it used to do is actually carry over your view type as well as your column. So super powerful stuff. This is something that I've been asking for probably since I started here, but really excited to introduce that and just make the list functionality that much more powerful for everyone.
Well, you become product manager, now you do whatever ticket you want.
That's not true. Just, every release, it's maybe we'll get a Rippey ticket in there. But I think this is going to benefit everybody. So I hope you guys enjoy using that. Guys, I've been talking a lot. I got a couple more things I want to get through, and then I want to allow you guys to jump in here as well. Huge feature in this release. We now have the ability to filter children on tree and Gantt view independent of parents. So what does that mean? So for example, we're actually looking at a list of items now in tree view. If we go into the filter of this and pop open our view options, we're going to see that currently we're showing all children types. And if we want to specifically filter those children, we can come over here and select filter children, and then the little filter icon appears. So now we can put essentially a filter on a filter inception.
Whew,
so
filterception.
We could come in here and say, for example, maybe we don't want to show, let's do a status, right? Type in status here, and we'll say is not any of complete, for example. So now what that would do is if I have like any completed tasks maybe that are rolling up to my project, and I'm not interested in seeing those in my tree view, I just want to see what's active and planned and overdue right now, I can filter those out, making my tree view that much more powerful in there. So huge feature that's been asked for from customers for quite a while. Very excited to introduce that into the product. And then one last thing, guys, we've also added when using a date field, or when you're doing a filter down on dates. So for example, if we go over to our date section, maybe we're doing a start date or a due date, for example, we now have the option to choose is any or none. So this would give you any items that have a due date, or give you any items that currently do not have a due date. So just enhancing the date filter on items as well. All right, guys, I covered a lot. I talked a lot. There was a lot in this release, so tell us some more of what we got in 2.4.1.
Pro tip.
Really?
I feel like we didn't say pro tip for a while, so I just
Right.
wanted to
Just gotta
say,
get one out there.
pro tip. The next big feature in our 2.4.1 release is no status templates and non-reportable templates. Well, what does that mean? In KaiNexus, there are several different statuses an item can potentially be in. Pop quiz, how many statuses are there?
Adam?
But sometimes none of those statuses fit. Now you can have an item with no status, and that's designated by this gray color here. This template type will not include any status options in the status picker and will not hit the reports area. So it says the color is gray. It says no status. There is no status for this item. It cannot be new. It cannot be active. It cannot be overdue. It cannot be draft. It cannot be resolution submit. I'm not going to say all of them. An example of why you may want to use a no status item could be you want to set up a folder type structure where you can house items under no status. This item would never go through the life cycle in KaiNexus that normal ones would. So we created a folder for our A3s, and we're just categorizing, these are all the A3s that we have. In addition to no status templates, KaiNexus now offers non-reportable templates. Now, there's a template type that may be a normal status template, but it will never hit the reports area, so you won't find it in that section. An example of why you might want to use this is to train people on KaiNexus, but you don't want their test improvements to go in reporting. Even though you want them to go through a normal workflow to see how the system works, you still want to report on all those example improvements and projects. So then they can go through their complete workflow, but you're not going to see them. It's not going to clutter up your system.
That's a pretty good idea for training, Adam.
Absolutely.
Pro tip.
Pro tip.
These special behavior templates offer more accurate reporting by having the option to exclude these items from your reports. Now, both of these options are going to have to be activated by your customer experience representative on the back end, like most of our specific template options. So if you're interested in taking advantage of this, please reach out to them.
Awesome. Thank you, Banna. No
Rip.
status and non-reportable options.
Can you remind me what's supposed to come next?
Sure, Banna. In fact, what we're going to talk about next is none other than our newly introduced Remind feature.
Woohoo!
So let's jump into one of these improvements.
You see what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did. Wait till you see what I'm going to do after this. So Remind allows you to never forget about items that require your attention by setting a personal reminder on any item in any status at any time. So for those of you who joined us for our I don't know if it was our last webinar or maybe the webinar before that, we had introduced some further functionality around reviewing items in KaiNexus. This is a little bit different than that. With reviewing, both options are going to be available here in the ellipsis. You'll see the option to review. You'll see the option to remind. I do have a blog post coming out on the difference between these. Just a quick summary. Review is more for a team, whereas remind is going to be just specific to you. So whether you come into the ellipses here and want to remind yourself on an item, or keep an eye out for the icon to the right of the bookmark now here in the top left, you can quickly add a reminder on an item here as well. So we'll go ahead and select that remind. Simply can come in here, choose a remind date. You can even take it a step further and choose a time. So maybe there's a task that I want to get done by end of day, so I'll remind myself to finish it at 4:30 before I'm getting ready to head out. I can go in here and specify that time as well. So let's say, for example, we have today. I'll use that as the example. I'll go ahead and say 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. We'll go ahead and save this reminder. And so you have this in a custom layout, Banna. We'll get our notification here at the top. So here we see what we'll be reminded about this item. We have our date here, the blue icon now for our little alarm clock there. So a couple of things now. One thing is to see any items that you have marked as needing to be reminded of. If you come over to your user profile and click in here and click the view activity, you're going to notice a new tab for reminders. So it works very similar to bookmarks. If you have items that you bookmark, if you want to quickly find those items that you have scheduled for reminder, there's going to be this tab here now that'll display all of them. There's also going to be a filter option. Pro tip? Pro tip. Why not? Pro tip. It's also going to be a filter option. So if we want to go into the filter again, click in here. If you go to the additional criteria, you'll be able to filter down a list of items that you have scheduled for reminder. So whether you want to put a card on your board or just create a custom list like we were just talking about before, you can have all those items that you've scheduled for reminder. And so just the last thing on the reminder, once that date and time comes around, you'll get a in-app notification in KaiNexus that'll be displayed here in the notification bell. You'll be able to click into that item after you've been reminded of it and then clear that reminder out. So super useful tool there. Remind yourself again on items that require your attention so that nothing falls through the cracks. Banna, are you ready? I messed it up. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well,
are you ready to talk about our next feature of dependencies?
It depends.
There we go. I got it.
We got there.
Appreciate you you setting me up for that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some enhancements to dependencies that we made. So let me just get all my statuses up in here to show all of our dependency items. You saved all these filters for me, so I gotta go and I gotta clear out our filters real quick. You can now show an anticipated start date and an anticipated due date. Please fix that for me. Thank you very much. There we go. Okay. You can now show an anticipated start date and anticipated due date on pending items in GAMP view. So if you hover over an item, you'll be able to see the anticipated start date, anticipated due date. But wait, there's more. You'll also show that in the date section on an item. So that anticipated start date and anticipated due date pops up.
Very nice.
Yes, very cool. In addition to that, we have an expand and a collapse dependency section on an item. Sometimes if you have multiple dependencies, then you have this big stack of dependents that lists at the top and it takes up a bunch of real estate on your screen. If you have a bunch, you'll have a little arrow next to it and you can just pop it right up and you'll be able to see that. So I think I have one in here that'll show all of those. Here we go, I'll search for it. I know where it is.
Wait, search was Adam. Should Adam search? Right. That was
Adam, do you want to search this?
Thing, can you fine.
Can you please search this for me so we can have it pop up? And then we have some of our dependent items here. I should have planned this out better.
I told you to prep, man.
There you go. Here's our item. Boom. Flip it open. Collapse. Show more.
The default behavior is it's going to have everything in a collapse view for you, as Banna mentioned, to just help clean up some of that real estate on the top of your templates. But now you'll be able to expand that out to see everything that is up the chain and everything that's down the chain on the item.
So to review, anticipated start date, anticipated due date, show it on
collapse
view.
Yep. Collapse, expand, dependencies. Love it. I think we're bringing Adam back in.
Adam, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
What are you going to talk to us about, Adam?
I'm going to talk to us about.
You're going to talk to us?
you.
Who are you going to talk to?
You're going to talk to yourself?
Let's take it offline for a sec. I'm going to be talking about people quick filters. So as you guys know, in our last release, we introduced list quick filters. In Trusty 2.4.1, we released people quick filters. People quick filters essentially make it easier and more efficient to create lists of people. So in the people section, from the expand button here, left of the create user, you can view quick filter options including roles and status, and it also has a checkbox for show inactive as well. So I can simply drill down, I can get anyone who's maybe a badge admin, anyone who's created private manager role. So a lot of power in there. It just adds the list quick filters functionality to the people section.
Yeah, one of the things I want to point out here too, there's been a little bit of confusion. And so what we've done is you come to your list of users, it's just showing everybody in the system. If you're trying to find a specific person and they don't pop up necessarily, and you want to quickly show inactive users as well, click on the show inactive checkbox. That's going to show you all of the users that are currently in the system, as well as any of these quick filters that you've included. But if you only want to see inactive users, just take it a step further and go into the filter. And for your status, you'll choose inactive, save that, and just make sure you keep that show inactive checkbox enabled as well. So this will filter down to just inactive users.
Beautiful.
Banna, we're right up on time. So for those of you, we're going to talk about our last feature here for the tack time, cycle time, lead time. This is an advanced ROI option. So if you're not an advanced ROI customer and not interested in taking a look at this, we will not be offended if you drop off. But Banna, why don't we talk about these new impact types that are going to be available now for those users?
Yes, we have 3 new impact types for our advanced ROI customers. They are cycle time, lead time, and tact time, tact with a K. You can increase the accuracy of your reports by now tracking how much process time you saved instead of just using a normal time savings option. Just it gives you the ability to just create more accurate reports, more accurate impacts on all of your improvements and projects. So you'll find that in the change result section. So I've titled 3, cycle time, tact time, lead time. You can title them whatever you like, but you have those 3 options. So as we mentioned previously, the advanced ROI option must be enabled. Now, once you've created them, the cycle time, lead time, and tack time options will show up in the admin menu right underneath product and resources. Then when you click into those options, you'll have the ability to set new options to give you different cycle time, lead time, tack time. Maybe your tack time focuses around a specific process that you want to measure, or the cycle time around a specific product or a specific area. Then those new widgets will be added to an impact summary once you've added those resolutions to your template item.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing with these from a functionality standpoint, Banna, is they work very similar to the time savings impact. But for those of you that are specifically tracking towards cycle time, lead time, tack time, this just gives you the ability to separate those out. So you'll have specific impact types for those. As Banna mentioned, when you come to the impact summary and have those enabled on templates, you'll be able to visualize those just like you've always been able to visualize cost savings, avoidance, revenue generation. So just making
much more specific way to capture an impact.
Exactly. Super powerful for those in manufacturing especially, but I believe there's going to definitely be processes in healthcare as well where cycle time, lead time, tack time should resonate with you and be a useful option to include when you're resolving your items in KaiNexus.
Cool. Anything else? Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I think we hit everything that was on my agenda.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for the time today. We always appreciate you guys tuning in our once a month of hearing us try and make bad jokes and make each other laugh. We hope these webinars are valuable. We have a ton of fun doing them. We hope you guys are learning lots. To check out all of our webinars from this year and last, there's so many, there's 24 now. Head over to kainexus.com/webinar/office hours. Now, if you have any questions or need assistance with the configuration of the features you saw here today, you want to get advanced ROI, you want to get no status templates, you want to set up non-reportable templates, whatever it is, please reach out to your KaiNexus customer experience representative. In the meantime, we encourage you to check out the support page at support.kainexus.com to answer all those questions. I'm Matt Banna, he's Ryan Rippey.
I'm Adam Darnell.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time, next year, next decade.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay.
All right. Take care, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
We'll see you next year.
Thanks, everyone.